You there?
Can you hear me?
I got you now, buddy.
Sorry about that.
What's going on with that?
No idea. Headset giving me some issues, but it's all good. It's all good and well now.
All right. Well, welcome to the Crushing Iron podcast, man.
Man, what an awesome day.
Yeah. It's been a spectacular day for the C26 triathlon crew.
I mean, and to be honest, man, just the whole thing in general, I guess, is all kind of turned. It's I don't know. I don't want to say it's finally begun or it's come to fruition, but just and I'm not even talking about the results that our athletes got today or have gotten in the past few weeks, but just the people that we've come into contact with, and we started this to for a lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons was so we could help hopefully inspire other people. And while I think we've obviously done that to an extent, it feels like kind of one of those, but I can't imagine anybody feeling more inspired than I am. And what you, I mean, what I've gotten out of it, from just the connection we made with people, and it's very, I think people really overuse the word humble these days. But just, I guess just today and the messages we've gotten and the results, and not just that, but seeing some of the perspective that the athletes that we have the ability and the privilege to coach, seeing their perspective really just it couldn't pump me up and inspire me anymore. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah, it is kind of cool to see the kind of things they're writing about their races. It isn't. Yeah. It's not all about I crushed it or I went out and just buried and hammered the butt. Whatever. They're finding. It seems like they're finding more enjoyment and confidence and clarity in why they're doing it. And what is it about triathlon? Why do we do it? And I think that's frankly, that probably is at the core of why we started doing this, is that, years ago, we weren't even sure, and it was kind of hey, let's just start getting things out and kind of talking about how we feel and what we're doing and try to get to the bottom of this. And it's sort of everybody out there is, like you're saying, helping us understand it, and in turn they're helping to understand it. I just do think it has something to do with the culture that's brewing, and there's a lot of breakthrough thought processes or moments that people are having, and we're all sharing them, and that's and that just inspires me too. There's just no question this has by far been the most enjoyable training run I've had towards an Ironman, and we're on day 24 of our 100 days, but I'm just looking forward to it, even though I went out today and ran, and it was brutal day for me.
Oh yeah,
but it's I do think I got better. I think I got better on that run. I went out and toyed around with the run slow to get fast kind of thing, because I think I just have a tendency to just bombard most of my workouts. It's just if you're not out there hammering something, if you're not out there just killing yourself, you're not getting better. So I purposely went out with this crazy slow goal. It just ate me alive.
Ooh.
I was doing the old, because I don't run with a heart rate monitor, but I was stopping every mile, and I was just kind of checking my pulse, right? Old school. Yeah. And I was trying to keep it under 125 on my run. And it wasn't super hot, but I was in the sun most of the time, and I was keeping it under 125, and it was painfully slow. And I think I put in about an hour and 45 minutes of slow running, and man, it was just very difficult. But I just feel like that's something I have to do a little bit more, But anyway, it was all kind of inspired by a number of things that have been happening within the group and people have been talking about, and these are the stuff you know how things are. You you can hear them a dozen times, but one time you hear something and it makes it click. And I think that's the sort of thing that we got going on a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said something like it's about us figuring out, the sport, and the triathlon, but I think largely it's like an open discussion of like figuring ourselves out, and why, what we're in this really for, and then hopefully like turning that switch from my identity relies on what my watch says and what number I am in my age group or overall as the primary objective and the primary thing within us that gives us fulfillment. But in turn, there's so many athletes and individuals, not only that we coach and train to work with, but in our closed group and through emails and just in messages and chats that it's like and I'm not by any means saying that we're the underlying reason and theme of why they're doing this, but it's allowing us to connect with other people who seem to be kind of on that journey. Is like getting better is great, and you want to get results, and I think that's a huge part of it, is getting results, but it's also the fulfillment that you get on the way to getting those results that make them meaningful. It's not staring at your Garmin and at Training Peaks and figuring out numbers and why you didn't do this and why you didn't do that and why you weren't better, that you can always be faster. And it's like it's and I had to tell this to a few of my athletes today. It was like they had PRs and they had great races, but they always have that like, yeah, but I could always. And I'm like, listen, we all every single person that listens to this podcast always has work to do. They can literally always get better. But race day isn't the day to deep dive into the ways you can improve. It's a day to kind of celebrate how far you come instead of looking into the future about how far you feel like you still need to go. And looking back on where you were before and how far you've come and the things you've accomplished and the people you've met along the way, and it's such an incredible journey that you can be on. And I'll second what you said about the this whole 100 days to Louisville thing. It's definitely the most consistent I've been. It's the most inspired I've been. It's the most it's the best feeling I've had training. And I have to thank you, and I have to thank the people that are a part of our listeners and our people in our closed group and messages and my athletes. It's interesting, like being on a flip side sometimes, because I'm always used to like asking my athletes how they're doing, and in the past week especially, I've had a bunch of athletes asking me how I'm doing.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Like, hey, how you doing? Like, how you hanging in there mentally and physically? And I'm like, I'm doing good, but it's kind of weird in the position I'm always in, like to have that turn, like that kind of turn towards me, because it's usually the other way around.
Yeah, but you have to admit it feels good.
Oh, God,
I mean, I've been
great.
getting texts too, the same thing. People just kind of emailing and texting me and asking me how it's going, and and telling me that they're getting inspired by it and whatever. Though it's kind of good to know that people care, and I think that that's what we've been. We've come a long ways, man. I mean, it was like it's just like I see everything differently right now, and it's been in the short couple of years or whatever that it was sort of this isolated kind of bear down, go do what you got to do sport, but now I'm really kind of like awakening in a sense where I can see the energy that other people give you and how much more things can get done and how much more productive you can be with a group kind of commitment, and just kind of it's the oldest thing in the book. You get more from giving than you do receiving, you know what I mean? So I just think that the whole culture feels that same way. It's starting to like, before it would have been like, oh man, I didn't want to get bogged down or whatever, but there's just so much more energy in reaching out and helping people And I feel that with, when people help us, I know that they get the same. It's just awesome,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird to. I mean, I guess that's always how it works, or it's how it's supposed to work, and it seems to always kind of come full circle. Like, my job is, that I help people reach their goals. I help them with training, whatever it is. But I always feel like, immensely fulfilled and assisted and like pushed along by my athletes and by other people when, it's that real, it's a very much a symbiotic relationship, and having these like super proud moments as a coach. But more often than not, they're not probably not what you would think. Like they're and honestly, like this is my, most of the time, and a lot of coaches, like it's all about wins and it's all about podiums, and
yeah,
we had a ton of awesome results like all over the place this weekend, like high overall placements, podiums at Ironman events. But I want to read a post that my good man Stuart Rogers wrote earlier on his Facebook page, and he had a couple that just stuck out to me as like, this is what it's about. And the first one was that he today he said, my first ever individual medal, third in my division, and an Olympic triathlon PR. And the next one, and while that's awesome, and it makes me just like super stoked and warms up my insides. His next one says, I won my race today, not because I finished on top of the podium, but for many other reasons. I got to play triathlon. As an adult, I smiled all morning. I thanked every volunteer I could. I gave high fives and encouragement to teammates and cancer survivors. When a runner behind me was struggling with blood sugar issues, I turned around and gave her the last of my nutrition. When the race was over, I knew I'd give it everything I had. Today, I won the triathlon. And that is like the biggest victory of the day, is not only seeing somebody like accomplish something that they've never accomplished before, but on the flip side, that wasn't even his proudest moment, and for me, that is like the best feeling as a coach, and just the best feeling to have the ability and the privilege to be a part of someone else when they have that kind of that breakthrough, not just physically, but that like when your mental and emotional peak meets your physical peak, or they peak at the same time, not the, ultimate, but when they do kind of come to that climax, like that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. And I could see that. I could see how that perspective, from you as a coach would have that kind of impact, because, historically, like, I could see how coaching, once you get in, before you're, and I have to say, I think you've kind of really grown as a coach. You've always had like a lot of great ideas and great training concepts and everything like that, but I think your perspective has shifted to a way that I can see it, where you're maybe not as anxious before a race or something, because you feel like your athletes have a better grip on everything going on, and maybe not having their quote unquote best time or their best race is not the end of the world kind of thing, because they know they're trained up, they feel good about it, they're having fun, and they want to go enjoy this day. And I think the odds of that are so much higher when your perspective is, going into a race has that in mind. Whereas before, like, I would feel that way. I'd be going out, and if I didn't just crush it, it would be over for me. I'd be like just disappointed or whatever, and look for excuses and all that kind of crap. But now, if you go into these things just kind of feeling good about what you're doing, man, and playing, like he said, play triathlon. I mean, it's our buddy Steve Del Monte who used to say that a lot. Hey, you're out playing triathlon today, man. And that is a cool thing, and it just takes takes a while to really understand that.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, it is. I've definitely like evolved, my training philosophies and methods and whatever. Those have pretty much always stayed the same. And I believe and I get, great results. I think, hopefully hopefully been proven, and it continues to be proven each week. But where I think I've raised my game in terms of preparation is not just preparing my athletes physically, but preparing them emotionally and mentally to, no matter what, they're not going to be as sore the next day. And that spans the spectrum of who you are. You're physically sore, and then you also have this like mental and emotional, the post Ironman, post race depression. But if you go into that with the right perspective and the right, purpose, and you understanding your why and the place and that triathlon has it's not who you are. It really isn't. It's not who you are. You are not. You may be, and you see this all the time. And that was one of the main reasons I got so frustrated with some of the things I saw within the sport of triathlon. Is that, so many individuals. And I actually think I thought about this when Shane Livingston was posting some of his stuff from his race yesterday, and a couple of things he's been saying. But it was like, so many people are so busy, like, talking about how they're a triathlete or trying to be a triathlete that they're totally losing sight of what it means to be able to do a triathlon. And it's an incredible thing. Like, it's a ridiculously incredible thing to accomplish. And I think somewhere along the lines, like, whether it's who you follow or who you're friends with, these lines get blurred between what a triathlete is, who it is, and what that means to be one. Like, it means you have to do an Ironman to be, and that you're not that good. Because we had athletes today that all over the spectrum, winning things, podiums. Then we had I'll admit it, two of my favorite athletes, Summer and Chris Gainers, doing their second sprint triathlon ever. Yeah. And I texted him this morning at like 4:30 because I think Hayden knows my racing schedule because I always try to wake up no matter how early it is. I try to text my athletes before they race, and that meant 4:30 this morning. And so usually I have a hard time getting up, but it seems like lately, whenever I have a ton of athletes racing, he has a horrible night of sleep and wakes up at 4:15. And I'm like, bam, thanks, dude, I'm already awake. But I was texting him and Summer was like, oh yeah, I only got 2 hours of sleep, but I'm ready to rock. And it's just it's the perspective, this is how much fun it's supposed to be. And if it can be this fun, and it can be this fun all the time, and you can still learn things about how much faster you can be or the athlete that you really are, and then you can learn things about yourself away from the sport that helps you in family and life and business, and then you can that's what allows us to want to continue to do this for long periods of time. And that's what I ultimately think is the main goal, is to be on this endless pursuit of how can I get better, and how can I understand that getting better is relative to me as a whole, not just represented by what my Garmin says or what place I am in my age group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we all have glimpses of, you know what I mean? It's how gut instinct is obviously a super powerful thing, and I think we all have that, and we all understand this, what we're talking about, in glimpses, but it takes a while to kind of sink in. I can reflect on several of my races, and a lot of times, some of the best swims I've had, and I say best in I don't even necessarily know if they were time best, but some of those best swims are the ones when I really kind of immersed myself in the water and the surroundings and realized how cool it was to be in the water, whatever body of water it was, and with so many people, and you kind of look around at the shore and see the sunrise and the whole 9 yards, and it's those are wonderful moments. And then, last year at Ironman Wisconsin, because I had sort of given up on some crazy time thing in the last few miles of the Ironman, 4 or 5 miles maybe, I knew that I was in under a number that I was okay with, and I just started looking around, and it made it easy, and it was so much more enjoyable to enjoy that rather than to quote unquote stay in that box that we always talk about. and everybody wants to stay in a box and not look around and just stay. I mean, how can you stay focused on form for that many hours? It's very difficult. And like
it is.
At the end of your second half of a marathon, Ironman run or whatever, I don't think looking around a little bit is really going to affect your time that much, or like slapping skin with some people or whatever. Just kind of like embracing the moment and kind of like, I don't know, man, even letting a tear shed that you're in that kind of thing. It's just amazing sometimes. It kind of gives you chills to think. Like, I remember that. My first Ironman swimming, I was like, man, I am in an Ironman right now. I mean, like, what is this? How does this even happen to a guy like me that was, 25, 30 pounds overweight at 48 years old? And now 2 years later, I'm swimming an Ironman. And this is something like, last podcast, Jamie talked about swim videos popping up on his YouTube channel, and that's just what I was, man. I was obsessed with that swim, and but not in a negative. I was just so fascinated by it. And then I actually, while in the swim, got to reflect and just let that sink in a little bit, and it was the coolest thing ever. You always have a great line about training for triathlon and how the actual race is like walking across your stage and getting a diploma. You've already put in the whole work of your studying and your hard work of classes and whatever, and then go enjoy that day when you walk across the stage. And that's sort of like, it was so hard for me, as a competitive, and a lot of people that get into triathlon come from competitive sport backgrounds, and they get into it later in life and they want to get that edge back, and that's exactly what happened to me. And it was hard to let go of the fact that I just wanted to drill everything I did, And along the process, what I forgot is that when I was playing my best sports, whether it be baseball or hockey or basketball or whatever I was playing when I was younger, I was better when I was in the flow, and I wasn't just so tense about everything. Somebody posted the other day about how they get tense riding an arrow, and they were talking about their fit and all this stuff and getting all this, and I just was like, that happens to me a lot, but I think it has so much to do with the fact that I just get tense. And that's like, that's, to me, it all comes down to bearing down to thinking that you want to hit certain numbers and all that sort of thing all the time, and you can't just relax and let your body flow.
Dude, that's like 100%. Like you, as usual, like reading my mind. Like I was just, when you were saying that, I was thinking back to when you and I rode yesterday on the trace, and that one split that I didn't look at my watch, and I wasn't looking at my power, and I was just going by feel and like being in the flow in the moment, and like this is what it feels like. This is what my effort's going to be like at Louisville. Like I'm just going to be in this like 70% zone. And it didn't feel hard, and it felt effortless, and it felt smooth, and it felt in rhythm, and it felt awesome. And and I remember we got done, and you like wheeled up to the side, and you're like, man, that we were going 24 miles an hour on the wind. Was that your 70? And the thing is I looked down and I was like, well, technically no, if I want to go by what my watch tells me. But in that moment, that's how good I felt. And, we just get so enamored, and like we are so often held hostage by not just our own expectations, but also the limits that we put on ourselves through every piece of digital software that's known to man. Mm-hmm. And I think we forget to, and I really struggle with, not I struggle with, but I have athletes that really struggle with this when they start working with me. They're like, I need more guidance. I need more numbers, and I give a lot of numbers, but it's like I need more specifics of how hard or what I need to know exactly what zone I'm like, I need you to feel it. I need you to feel your body. I need you to know what hard feels like. I need you to know what moderate feels like. I need you to know what easy feels like, because your body, your body, and your body knows you better than anybody else on the face of this earth. Regardless of what unit you make or you wear, Garmin, Sunto, whatever, whether it's you have a power meter or not, a heart rate strap or not, a coach or not, like the person that knows you the best is you. And then if that changes, it changes not just every single day. It usually changes on the hour. And if you're not in tune with who you are and what feels like what, you are almost always going to limit your capabilities, and hold yourself back, because you have these preconceived notions. And yeah, numbers are important, and the way they're used and the way your training plans are structured, that's all very important when it comes to getting results. And as a coach, that's my job. And I have to tell athletes, like, disengage from the numbers. Disengage. And a lot of them just want to know why, which is fine. It's okay to want to know why, but it's not okay to be obsessed with the what. And that's where you have to have this disconnect of, and I posted something like that on our closed Facebook group earlier this week about the experience, and that's when you start to lose things more than you choose to gain things. And it's always about you. And like I said, the only person that knows you and knows what they're capable of is the untethered, no expectations version of you that's not afraid to fail, but is totally bought into just the willingness to figure out how good can I really be today. And that might be different tomorrow, but I'll damn well tell you, I'm going to figure out exactly what that feels like today. And regardless of what my Garmin says when I get done or what it says before or during, I'll know that I nailed it, and that's really all that I need to know.
Yeah, that's, we talk, it's like the Garmin stuff, and you know me, and it's not that I'm anti-Garmin, it's just that I don't, for whatever reason, get fascinated by that kind of stuff. And I just, and I know it probably makes it harder for me, especially during training. And we had talked about that before, how I ran into these couple guys who were like, sort of on the really high end of Ironman and marathon training back in the, early 2000s or something like that. And I asked them, they said they wore watches during training and everything like that, but on race day, they just let it go. They didn't even want, they just kind of went by their deal, and they were fast, but, and I think that's what you were just saying in a way, is it's like, sometimes you might, that may hold you back, or it's just, there's just something to me about even running with a chrono watch. When I get out there and I start getting obsessed by hitting the restart at these quarter miles, I start like feeling a little bit of a tension in my legs or something, because I'm trying to control that pace. You know what I mean? Like how you feel restrained for a reason, because you've put yourself within a window. Yes.
And so what you do is you're continuing to add stress upon yourself, whether you recognize it or not. You're putting stress on yourself that doesn't need to be there, because you're tensed up in your mind thinking, I've got to hold this speed, or this effort, or this heart rate, and you're not even in control anymore. You're actually in this like organized like chaos and out of control. It kind of like the equivalent of what they say when you're trail running. You want to be on when you're running like a really, really steep downhill. They call it like a controlled fall. Like you want to be going so fast, but you're not out of control, but you're not really in control either. You just got to be willing to go with it. And when you find out these paces, you get tense, because you're staring at these like, I've got to hit this, and this is what I'm supposed to. Instead of looking at your watch and it telling you what 90% feels like, why don't you tell me what 90% feels like?
Yeah.
because that's what it is. That's what it's supposed to be about. It's not, if that's how you want to do things, and that's how obsessed you want to be with electronics and watches and digital this and digital that, then, the next time you go race and you get your finisher's medal, don't put it around your neck. Go put it around your Garmin 920's, wristband, because it did all the work. It told you what to do.
Yeah.
When you get done with the race, you're the one that's smiling with it. You're the one that's hugging your friends and hugging your family. You're the one that's doing the work, not the watch, not the GPS unit, not your power meter. Like, you're the one doing it. It's just interpreting what you're doing into numbers that may or may not even be accurate. But the only true result that you can get that's totally and brutally honest and isn't lying to you is you. And if you can go out there and you can train and you can race and you can say, you know what, that was my best effort. There's two things I told an athlete that I had yesterday, Wes Keane, who did Ohio today, and I said, there's only two things you can control on race day: your effort and your execution. Everything else just kind of fall. The chips may fall, will fall where they may. Nothing else is in your control. Mechanical, a crazy storms and weather. But if you can control your effort and your execution of that effort, then you win. And 99 times out of 100, if you give it your best and you execute to your fullest extent, then guess what? You surprise yourself. And it's not even like that you surprise yourself because you shouldn't believe that, but you surprise yourself because you say, oh, well, based on my data, I was only supposed to be able to do this. I'm like, come on, man. Like, quit letting these like $400 units put limits on what you're capable of in and out of racing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's even like when we were talking there, that run I did today, that slow run, I felt the same thing trying to go slow. You know what I mean? It's that hold back, or it's like, and I know that we've talked about power meters a lot, and I really believe that would be a good idea for me on the bike. And I know that when I was running today, it just felt so much harder to hold down, and I think that might be a good thing to do once in a while, to push your body in a state of like, it's sort of like negative weightlifting. You have to go slow, and it's not easy, and it's training, right? So that's a good thing. But on race day, that may or may not be your best option. I don't know. I've never. I don't know. I think that when I run a lot with music, and it seems like I get into that crutch. And sometimes for me though, when my training is out there and I'm especially running, I just go kind of by my breath. That is, to me, is the best indicator. As if I'm coming out of T2 and I start, if I'm breathing, if I'm gassed by the mile 2, I know that I really just made a big mistake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know. I mean, I can feel that by body just on that day. And again, I'm not, I haven't really proven anything, but I just know that I think it's more enjoyable, probably if you can kind of just let your body flow, whatever that flow state may be. I mean, it's tough to be in flow for, half of a day at an Ironman or, whatever, but I don't know. It takes a big distraction away or something.
It is, but I mean, it's that recognition of feel, and being in the flow that helps you, I think, stay present, which is 100% what racing and Ironman is all about. Is not getting caught up in the good, the great, or the terrible, and because that could literally change by the minute. It's like. It always is what it is, and it's how you approach and deal with whatever the is of that moment, and accepting it, and not letting it tell you, and not letting it tell you that you're failing, or that you're just being incredible, because they could both be false. They could both be telling you a lie, that you're doing like an incredible job of work, or you're doing a terrible job of work. Mm-hmm. Because it's dependent on the terrain and the wind and it's like, you tell you what was good, and if you feel good about it, then who gives a shit what your Garmin says, and who really cares what Training Peaks tells you your TSS was. If I was looking at, for the power guru people out there that are only listen to like TSS and all that kind of stuff.
Kilojoules.
Your kilojoule thing. If you're below like a negative 30 or something when it comes to a negative 30 like TSB, then they usually tell you it's time to like rein it in and take like a break to kind of get back down to at least negative 10 or something, because that just means your form is so negative that you're overtraining or whatever. And well, guess what? My form right now is negative 59.1, and I feel pretty damn awesome. So I'm gonna take one or two easy recovery days, but I'm not taking days off. I'm just doing things a little bit easier, and I could really care less what that yellow number says, because I feel good. And I'm loving it. And if I can feel good and I can love it, then I have a pretty good feeling of what I'm going to be able to accomplish while enjoying it, which is the key word at Louisville, is enjoying it. Like when I envision Louisville, I don't envision my finishing time first anymore. I envision Friday hanging out with awesome people, Saturday checking in, hanging out with more awesome people, meeting people. And I think of race morning, chilling on the steps, waiting for the swim with the athletes that I work with and with the people who are there to support and volunteer, and literally just like hanging out. And then the race will be what it will be, and I'll know that when I start. But until that point, dude, I honestly, I've never been this pumped for a race like that had really nothing to do with when the clock starts at 7 a.m. or it finishes at midnight.
Just for the experience. And
yeah. I mean, it's going to be an incredible experience.
You know, yeah. And you know me historically. Okay, I'm the guy, right, that looks, I've always looked at podiums. You know this. I'll go back and
I know you do.
I'll look at what the guys did last year in my age group, and I'll kind of like look at like, okay, I'll target that. And you know, you've never been a big fan of that, but I just can't get over it, right? Sometimes because I kind of just, you know, I think that's just human nature for a lot of us. Like
it is.
But so I hadn't been even doing that, and then last night, you know what I did?
I'm sure you did it.
After I went and looked at my age group last year at Louisville, and you know what it did? It was just like, you know what?
Shattered your dreams.
I'm like, fuck it, man. I'm out. Yeah. I can't even look there because, I mean, you know, I mean, back in my mind, I'm like, okay, we did that good ride yesterday, and I'm trying to do this, and I can do this. I think I'm capable of this. And like my ideal time would have put me in like 20th, you know, last year. It was like,
dude, I honestly think that and they always talk about this in like triathlon, that is there doping in triathlon. I actually think it's more prevalent in age groups, as for age groupers, than it is for pros. You want my man Mark Strasser, who crushed it today at Ohio 70.3 with a flat. He did a 5:03. You want to know who won the age group in the 55 to 59? You know what his time was?
Half. No idea.
4:32.
Yeah. I mean,
55, 59, 4:32. I mean, insane.
Yeah.
Unbelievably, he only averaged 24.75 on the bike.
Oh.
I mean, what a slouch. And then he got off, and ran 7:37. So yeah. And I'm by no means saying this guy dopes or anything, but I think a lot of guys your age do a little too much testosterone from the doc. But
that's my you know, no, I'm not going to say it's my goal, but my fantasy is to get up on one of these podiums and just openly declare that you can test me now and just see what happens.
Man, who knows?
It might just throw. I don't know.
Good thing Jamie didn't podium at Louisville last year. They would have been banned for like 4 years from all the overnight Sudafed and Halls and all that kind of cocktail he had going on.
How about running the marathon with Halls as your nutrition?
Yeah, right. Like, hey, oh man, can I borrow a gel? Nah, man, but I've got some of these sweet honey lemon Halls cough drops if you want one.
Can you imagine running that marathon with hot burning Halls in the old Louisville marathon where there's 100 degrees?
Right, like, hey, what were you running with? Well, I do water, I do Gatorade, and I do Ricola. You're like, you mean cola? And you're like, no, I mean Ricola. I mean, what an incredible story. But getting back to the race this year, it is like it's going to be so much fun. Like, you and I were there back in 2014, and that race was super special for me for a lot of reasons. And it's going to be weird going back when it's cool. Like, the year we did it was 100, and it's just, I don't know. It's really, I love watching that video, that you did of that race. It's got a lot of special, it has a lot of special, little clips in it for me. If you've never watched the 2014 Crushing Ironman Louisville tribute video, you should check it out on YouTube, and maybe Mike, you can link it to link it in the show notes. But it's got so many, like, I don't know. It's just it means the world to me to have that video, because that had been such like a just incredibly tough past year for me, and you and I's friendship was so awesome, and your mom and brother had always been so great to me, and Allie, was there, and then you've got Pete, who was there, who's not here. It's just that it almost brings me to tears every time I watch it. I'm not gonna lie, and I can't wait to go back there, and I can't wait to. I don't want to say like I don't want to say that I'm respecting it differently, but I feel like maybe it's a sense of being more responsible. It's probably a better way to put it.
Yeah,
I've always respected it, and I had enormous respect for that race when I did it, and
cherishing the opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Like just to understand where we've been and what we're capable of. Like, I said this to you on the trace yesterday. It's like, and this is for anybody out there. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I think a lot of times we get caught up in talking about other people's athletic ability when really we're just doubting our own. And, well, you're always been an athlete. You've always missed. I'm like, you know what? You can too. Like, it's not. I'm not a semi-pro elite triathlete. Do I have decent time? Sure. But I used to be a 14+ hour Ironman guy, and I used to be a 6+ hour 70.3 guy. But what I can tell you is that, these last few weeks have taught me so much about what the body is capable of. I went out we went out yesterday on the trace and had 3.5 hours, 3,000 feet of climbing. When 3 weeks ago I hadn't ridden my bike in basically 5 months.
Yeah.
And it's like how, like, what is our body like how much is it taken care of? Like, how much, like, if you take care of your body and you're willing to do things and you're inspired and you're doing things right and you're being, mindful of everything that you do, like, do you understand what we're capable of here? And I'm not saying that by like, look what I can do within like 100 days to Louisville, because I have no idea what I'm capable of yet. But training for an Ironman is this incredibly long journey, and people get injured, and you take new jobs, and you have losses in life, and people get divorced, and you move, and you do all these things, and we're so quick to throw in the towel.
Mm-hmm.
And just like, well, I guess it's just not my year. I literally, like, it cringes in my internal organs when people say stuff like that. Like, we look for reasons to escape and avoid moving up and above and beyond the obstacles that life throw in our way. Because you know what? It's going to happen all the time. Whether it's your fault or not, it's going to happen. And you can either do two things. You can look to the oldest excuse and look, well, I guess it just wasn't meant to be. Whatever, dude. You didn't let it. And you can choose that. And so when you have these incredibly long years, when you're training for an Ironman, you're training for a 70.3, you're training for anything. It's never going to go perfect. All these things are going to happen, but you can't give up. You can't say, oh, well, I missed too much time, and not give up and just think, I'm just going to start over next year. You're still capable of doing things.
Right.
Like, you're still capable of, to an extent. I'm not telling people to like go waste thousands and thousands of dollars and be financially irresponsible or unsafe. I'm not telling people to do that. Because I do think there's a fine line in being, being unrealistic and unsafe from a health standpoint, and financially irresponsible. But what I'm telling people is give it a second thought and just see what happens and see what you're capable of.
Yeah. That reminds me too of one of our earlier podcasts that we did a whole thing on pain and what I've learned, like, speaking of what the body's capable of. I wish I would have known this back in the day when I played sports, because I was telling you about this. There were so many times when I was quote unquote injured, and I was kind of a lazy teammate back in the day. I kind of had the natural ability, sort of mainly in baseball, and I would always have nagging, and that's just the nature of the game in baseball, and that's why I think steroids were so rampant. Is it because it was just a healing? It helped you get back into the game, and what?
Oh, sorry, Allie was talking to me.
Oh, I thought you were trying to whisper, yeah, like whatever. But anyway, so. Yeah, but I was always acting like I was injured, and had these things going on. But now, after training for triathlon for 5 years now or whatever, aches are not injuries, and a lot of times, and like what I found out today, man, is it's like you got to run through it. And your body is capable of amazing stuff, like you were just saying, and I had no less than 8 instances today when my feet made a weird feeling, or my knee kind of was like whatever, and that back in the day I would have just stopped and thought I was injured, and I'm not saying to plow through real injuries, but I'm just saying that we are amazingly capable as human beings, it seems. And even going back to that race in Louisville in 2014, it was sort of a last minute decision for me. I mean, realistically, dude, I didn't. That was in August. I think I signed up in late May, maybe, for that race, And I had been kind of keeping with it a little bit, but, just turned it up a lot. And I didn't want to say I went up there and crushed it, because it ate me alive. But still, I finished it in a pretty respectable time. And it was mainly, I hadn't even run the last month and a half before that race. Mm-hmm. It's like, I keep thinking about the Ironman run, and everybody's... running 18, 20 mile, 22 miles in preparation for it and all this stuff. And then it's like they get out on mile 1 and they can barely even run. So it's like, I mean, that was kind of my thought, was like, well, I can, jog, or I can kind of walk, run, or whatever. I mean, there's always some ways. I mean, your body just it never ceases to amaze me, actually. And I think that was so cool what you're just saying about how, in reality, your meter, whatever, what's that? The pain, what is that thing you said? It's giving you a reading of minus 56 or whatever.
Yeah, what my training peaks performance management says, and I'm basically minus 60 right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that obviously it's a fine line. I mean, I've always paid real close attention to exhaustion, but I just think stuff is so mental. I mean, the pain stuff. I mean, if you're in good mental state, even yesterday when we went out to ride, I was kind of wiped out on Friday, and I wasn't sure how that ride was going to go. But once you get it kind of going, loosen it up. It's about getting your blood flowing sometimes too. You know what I mean? And that's what you're meaning about you're not going to just sit around and rest and laze it out. I mean, it's good to get out there and maybe swim a couple thousand easy meters or something like that. I mean, I think that it's just that snowball of momentum, and if you're feeling good, and you could get up and do it. It's like I wasn't even really jazzed to do the podcast about an hour ago. I was kind of tired after that run and everything, and then I kind of just snapped it, and I think that's part of what's going on too, is that it's easier for me to snap into places, get that kind of flip a little bit of a switch. It's like, quit being, feeling sorry for yourself, kind of thing. It's just like, just get up and do it.
That's it, man.
You're always going to feel better 99% of the time, I think.
Preach.
Whew. Sorry, man. I
Exhale.
went off there. I've been watching the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame induction, so I'm kind of inspired.
How? That's the most. I couldn't. It's like watching paint dry for me. I couldn't be any more bored.
Seriously, man, I've been in tears all afternoon.
Oh God, yeah, I'm good.
The memories, man, the dedication, the hard work that these people put in. I think it's analogous. It's kind of reflecting back. It'd be like, once we induct you into the Crushing Iron Hall of Fame, you're going to have a lot of tears.
Sure, man. Go for it.
All right. Well, say that now, man.
That's right. Say that now.
You're going to be bawling like a baby, man.
That's right. Hey, I'm quick to tear anyway, so I don't need any help with
I know. Man, you're getting so emotional.
I know, right?
Yeah. How's your vegan diet going?
I have a confession to make.
Oh, no. Don't tell me.
Oh, no, dude.
Oh.
A confession to my meat-eating friends.
Oh.
I picked off freshly baked, or whatever it was, bacon off of my salad today at lunch.
Whoa. You didn't throw a firestorm with the server?
Well, no, because it was. I don't do that. You do because you want to open a C26 restaurant. But
consulting business.
Consulting. That's right, consulting business. But no, I got the Cobb salad, and I got the chicken on the side because I was going to give it to Hayden for his lunch tomorrow at daycare with some other things, and I totally missed the bacon. So it was my fault. And so it got to the plate, and it was just this and it wasn't like bacon bits. It was like a legit piece of bacon they took the knife to, and I looked at it and I was like, it was funny because I was eating with my mom, Allie, and Hayden, and Jay, her sister, and because we had just gotten to look at the house, our new house that's being built, and it kind of like that screech on the record player when they plop down, and they were like skirt, what's he gonna do? And I picked it off. I put it on the plate beside me. And that's when you know you're all in. Listen, man, when I go in, I go in. But I'm going strong.
That's good.
What about you?
I'm pretty solid outside of the butter.
Oh yeah, I don't even count that, man. I'm just giving up meat right now.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I'm definitely solid. I ordered that. Remember that lentil soup yesterday, and are you sure that's not in beef broth? And I was like, damn it, so many questions, so many things I got to be thinking about. But
even para veganism.
I mean, at this point, it's just all about intention, right? I'm not, I can't go to that level.
Yeah, it is, because I know so many vegetarians that eat like absolute crap.
Yeah.
Just because you don't eat meat doesn't mean you're healthy. No offense. Because I see you shoveling down donuts and candy like it's your job. So don't tell me because you don't eat meat that you're all of a sudden Mother Nature's best friend, a lean, mean machine. Wow. It's just, come on, give me a break. It's about intention. And so I think right now my intentions are good. My intentions are pure. And my body is telling me that what I'm doing right now it likes it. So I'm going to keep at it.
Yeah, and I'm not. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing. I don't know, maybe a couple days less than you probably, or something. I can't even remember, to be honest.
2 weeks today.
Yeah, I'm right around the 10 to 12 day mark or something like that. But I'm not even here to say that I'm having a transformation of any major sort. But I do feel a little bit, like I said, about that flipping the switch or getting out of the bed, or just a little bit, I don't know if that's mental at this point or physical. I mean, I still don't feel like I've really dialed in any kind of plant-based diet. You know what I mean? I'm trying to eat a big, salad, trying to do a really nice thing like that. But I'm still kind of doing, and they're not bad, I guess, the frozen Amy's burritos and that sort of thing. But that's still like a quick fix. But anyway, moving in the right direction.
And that's what it's all about.
Just like the Crushing Iron Facebook group.
Always.
If you haven't gotten in there yet, what are you waiting for, really? Just search Crushing Iron Group on Facebook, and it's our closed group, and so many positive people and good people, and it's I think it's just a solid group with posts and questions and things like that, and it's not like overrun by craziness.
Yeah. It's overrun by not unreasonable, irrational triathletes, but responsible and, nice, cool, genuine triathletes. Yeah.
Well, in a way, it's a little bit like anti what I think of Facebook, because
exactly.
I look at my main feed, and it's just like, why, really? What are people doing? They're just. I don't even want to go into it.
Don't. Yeah, we're.
I mean, it's not. But it's just.
Don't ruin the podcast talking about ridiculous, annoying people.
I won't. But I do have to say that ever since now my feed, the algorithm is really giving me a lot of good stuff now. Since I've been following, people that I think are, trying to live their lives, and not sulk and bitch about petty stuff all the time, or just completely, go off the rails with stuff they don't really care about just for attention. So I think it's just been a good transformation. So Facebook's taking care of me finally.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think so too. Anything else going on? How's that swim analysis going?
Man, so many things are good. We got swim analysis are great. I think I just did my 32nd swim analysis in the last 2 months, which is awesome. So like at least every other day. We just put a new video out kind of explaining how it works with some testimonials, and honestly, like it's one of the more fun aspects of my job is helping people transform their swim, and it's really not difficult. All you have to do is have some kind of waterproof device. I give you all the instructions about how to tape it. You send me the videos, and then you're done. I take care of the rest. And get them back to you within 1 to 3 business days. And most people are taking off like between 10 to 15 seconds. Just within like their first to second workout back off their 100 pace. So if you have any questions about it or want some additional information, or you just want to see the video and get some more info on packages for that, you can feel free to email me at c26coach@gmail.com. Our 2018 triathlon and swim camp registration goes live to the general public tomorrow. It's already been live and open for our current C26 athletes and forum members, and our April and June camps are already almost full, with our swim camps also filling up nicely. So if you want additional info on the dates and how to register and the itinerary for those camps, same email, c26coach@gmail.com.
Hosted right here in Nashville, Tennessee.
That's it. Some of the most beautiful training grounds you can possibly imagine, and you'll see that in the video if you want me to send it to you. And then last but not least, we are currently accepting 2018 athletes for spots. So if you have any interest in being coached next year or want to know what that would look like or what we offer, feel free to just do the same, and I'll send you all the information and what that looks like, and you can be a part of one of the friendliest, fittest, and fastest groups around.
Okay, should we squeeze in that Louisville course review or the coaches' questions right now?
Oh, dude, we're done.
We're done? Okay.
Yeah, I'm at 56 minutes. I got to go vacuum.
Okay, that's what I like to hear. That's not a bad idea.
Then I got to go head to the post office and ship out the C26 hats and shirts. And then I got to go over to Mimi's for some peach pie at 6:45.
Ooh. Do we have any of those shirts and hats left?
5 hats and select sizes of the C26 and squad shirts.
Okay. All that stuff can be
same email.
c26coach@gmail.com.
Yep. And then if you have any negative comments about the podcast, you can send those to crushingiron@gmail.com. CC Mike Trolley.
I'll take them, man. You know, I'm open-minded. You know, it's just a podcast.
It is.
Just a race.
Podcast for the people. Just a race.
Okay. Well, enjoy your peach cobbler.
Thanks, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, buddy.
Yep.
Bye.